This technique is Eye of the Storm. Yellow belt technique. It's what I call one of the universal techniques. It's a wonderful technique based on a wedging principle, similar to Five Swords, Trigger Devastation, working inside the left attack, or I'm sorry, the right hand attack. It's for a step to right diagonal club, but it can be used in several other ways, which we'll kind of explore, towards the end of the technique. It actually takes the place of checking the storm. If you go back on YouTube and you look at some of the older videos of Mr. Paul demonstrating the weaknesses of checking the storm, you can understand why Mr. Paul developed this technique to replace checking the storm. There are some issues in that old yellow belt technique that a lot of people had, especially people that have actually had somebody try to whack them in the head with a stick or a bat or a crowbar or something. You realize that a whole body movement at an angle compared to somebody just swinging the club and using their arm only. They weren't trained to use their whole body properly, so they swung at you like an amateur and whacked you on the head. You just couldn't move fast enough. So along came Eye of the Storm. So let's go ahead and start out with some of the basic mechanics of Eye of the Storm. All right, we're going to work off this angle. Again, as a yellow belt, the way I teach my students is, we work pretty much from a natural stance, natural or a passive natural. I don't put my students right into a neutral bow when facing a weapon yet. Later on, once you get into that orange belt and above, every time you see a weapon, if you're not running from that weapon, then you're neutral. You're in a position or a defensive posture, ready to present yourself to that weapon. All right? But for yellow belt, I want everybody to work from being caught flat-footed. Right? And the idea being, if I can defend myself from this worst position of all, then I can defend myself from these other more active positions. All right. So the club is coming in at a diagonal, straight for the head, and this is where the Eye of the Storm comes from. If I stand out here, this is what we call maximum pressure. Right? If the hand is still back here, that's zero pressure. And then pressure increases till you have 100%. And then it lessens again as you work your way down back to zero pressure. It's a common concept used in a lot of the modern and archipelago systems of zero to max to zero pressure. Right? So what we want to do is we want to find that zero pressure. So as that club comes in, we're going to step into what we call the eye. Right? All the big swirly dangerous stuff's out here on the rim, so now we're stepping into the Eye of the Storm to where there's a little bit of breathing space. Okay? So as I step in, I'm going to pop an extended outward block. I don't want to hit too far down the arm. My goal is to smack the hand actually carrying the weapon itself. Right? Bad news, good news, or great news, good news, not so good news, really bad news down here. So bad news up here, bad news here, great news here. And here's what we want to do is pop that hand. So I'm stepping into neutral. I'm going to try and get as close in as possible. I don't want to be way out here too far. Again, I want to control my center line while exposing his. As I project, back knuckle. Now I'm stepping in. There's that back knuckle, collapse, inward elbow, hammer fist to the liver or floating ribs, coming back off, and ridge hand to the groin. And that's the whole book technique. So one more time with just a little bit more flow, stepping in, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? And you'll notice this hand is pretty much isolated when you're teaching a yellow belt this technique. I don't want to throw too much information at them one time, so I do basically one-handed Kempo. Again, one more time. Back knuckle, inward elbow, hammer fist, ridge hand to the groin, and then from there you would cover up. All right. Now we're going to step up a little bit. That's the basic idea of the technique, or the book technique. Now we're going to take it to a couple different directions. Now, the back fist. If you've seen all my videos, you already know by now I'm not real big on whacking people in the temple or in the head with my knuckles. So I usually don't. But there are times and places. Catching the temple. Temple's the weakest part of the skull. It's flat. Everything else is round, so it's mutually supportive. The temple being flat, is weaker, so it's more prone to damage. What I do, or what I prefer to do, is instead of snapping, I zing it. I make a little circle, pow, and I pull that hand back and I load it. So as I'm projecting, you'll notice my body's square. As I come in, boom, I catch that tempo and I'm square. From there, I rotate in. Now at this point, I rotate in and I hit neutral. Thumb goes down. Remember, thumb up, you're hitting flat. Thumb down. Ooh, yes, I can hear it from here. Okay, so we want to hit with that thumb down. Rotate in, it's going to cause them to collapse. And now from that same angle, I'm going to drop that elbow and catch those ribs. And I'm going to take this little finger knuckle and I'm going to bury it and roll it into his floating ribs and hopefully transfer that into the liver. Boom, and there's position. And I'm just going to wipe down. Now you'll notice I'm back to square again, or a forward bow. Right, or what we call a liquid forward bow. From there, I'm just going to rotate back in and catch that groin and then cover out. So with a little more speed and a little more flow, what's happening is I'm coming in, medium speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I work my way out. There's those flow ideas. Now let's keep going. Here's the way I do it, just a little bit different. I've been hitting the nose too many times to not accept the fact that I always get a reaction from it. Every time I get smacked in the nose, my eyes water and I blink a lot. I like that because that gives me that couple seconds. If I'm doing it to somebody else, it gives me that couple seconds to take advantage of it. So now, as he comes in, pow! I shoot straight up the middle, and it helps keep my body square. So it's a snapping motion. It's just a really quick pow. And what it does is it gets me right back into that elbow into the sternum. My goal is to crack it. If I can crack it, what's behind it? The heart. I'm going to hopefully get the result that I'm looking for. Boom. And then everything else is the same. Okay? Now, let's keep going a little bit further. Let's get away from one-handed Kempo now. As he comes in, boom. That's a hit. All right? So there's my shot. Boom. There's my elbow. There's my check again. And there's my ridge hand. All right? Back into the groin. So put the whole thing together. He comes in. Boom. And I work my way through. That's the technique at speed. Same old patterns we always use. Slow it down a little bit. Boom. Get that shot. Hit. Hit. And those are strikes. Hit. As we work our way through. Great technique to teach transitions from liquid forward to neutral to liquid to neutral. Use your body when you use this technique. It's a weapon. When the weapon's involved, you get to do more stuff to him. Those are the rules. Enjoy the technique.